Hello viewers and learners of the Postgraduate Diploma in Environmental Management and Law and the Master of Arts in Environment and Occupational Health. Welcome to this session. In this session, we will discuss on an important topic, NEP 2020 and Disaster Management. And this is in relation to the courses for both the programs, that is MEV 002 and MEV 003, both focusing on environmental and occupational hazards and on the environmental management and law. So welcome to this session, learners. And with me today is Professor R. Baskar from the School of Science. Welcome to this session. Now, what comes to your mind when you think of disaster management? So we have all witnessed several disasters. It could be natural disasters, and among the natural disasters include those of the geological hazards, the hydrological hazards, then we have the meteorological hazards, the climate-driven hazards, and so many to name. Again, we have the technological hazards. Of this, what comes to our mind is the Chernobyl accident, which occurred in the erstwhile Soviet Union or the USSR, and also the Bhopal gas tragedy, which took place in India. And then there are the man-made hazards. So we have to learn about these hazards, both natural, technological, the man-made hazards, and how we go about disaster management. Therefore, the NEP 2020 in its document, and here where we have a holistic and the multidisciplinary approach to education at all levels, includes disaster management in its text, and therefore we are today focusing that this where it is included, whether in the schools, in the colleges, in the education criteria. So disaster management in education and why it matters. So thereby we are building a culture of preparedness. So early awareness is important, where we introduce the concepts of disasters in schools and in the higher educational institutes in the curricula to foster risk literacy from a very young age. This way, we can bring about a behavioral change among the students, where the students can learn to respond calmly to the different type of the disasters and how they need to act responsibly during emergencies, reducing panic and misinformation. Now, regarding this, I would like to tell you one thing, that in the 1995 earthquake which struck Kobe in Japan, so here almost 4,000 school buildings were destroyed, in addition to death and the effect on the life and the property. But here, after this, we find that most of the schools, or in fact all the schools in Japan, are earthquake resilient buildings. And then again, the children are taught to duck, cover and hold. So they are taught for the disaster preparedness in terms of earthquake management. So all the children here, whether they are in the primary school, the secondary or the higher secondary, or in the higher educational institutes, they are learnt from the primary level how they have to be prepared in terms of the emergency situations, in terms of hazards, disasters, especially since Japan is earthquake prone area. Therefore, they are taught how they have to duck under their desk and to these three, that is a duck, cover and the hold. So this is how we bring about an early awareness and a behavioral change among the school children and also among in the curricula itself. Then skill development and employability. So the practical skills, training with related to the fire, for example, or the evacuation, fire safety, and psychological, because people who are hit with disasters, often it leads to depression and several other problems. So the psychological first aid and all this can build the life-saving competencies. Again, the career pathways, it can open avenues in the environmental planning, in urban resilience, in humanitarian logistics and public health. Now, when it comes to the training in the first aid, here again I would like to tell you that in many of the companies, in many of the institutions, the employees and also the children, for example, even if it is in the school or in the colleges or universities, there are mock drills that are being conducted and the trainings that are being conducted. For example, the smoke alarm. So they know that if the sound of the smoke alarm comes, that is, it is a sound of a bell of this alarm, then all the employees have to assemble at a common point. So this is one type of training that is given to individuals. It could be once a month, it could be once in 2 months, or once in 15 days. So here the employees are better prepared. They are well prepared in case there is a fire, there is a hazard in the building, and the smoke alarm or this alarm goes on. They know that they have to evacuate. They have to not use the lift, but they have to use the stairs, come down, and they have to gather at a common point, and then the officials from the disaster management authority come, and then they solve the problem. So these are the types of training that is given. It includes the first aid, includes in the fire, includes safety, and so many other procedures. Institutional resilience. So here the campuses also need to be made safe, and the campus safety protocols are important. So education institutes, they become safer through the drills, through the audits and student-led disaster risk reduction clubs, or they call it as a DRR clubs. Policy literacy. The students understand the frameworks like the National Disaster Management Act of 2005 and the National Disaster Management Authority guidelines, all working towards the Sustainable Development Goals and the targets. So here again, when we talk about the campus safety protocols, in many of the institutions and the campuses, and of course this has been made compulsory by the government too, the mock drills and the safety drills are being conducted for the individuals, where the real like situations are being presented, and then what happens and what has to be done in case of an emergency. So all these kinds of awareness, training, the safety drills and the mock drills, they aid in better preparedness in order to tackle for disasters and effective disaster management. Community engagement and the sustainable goal alignment. So the local risk mapping is one important thing that comes under this heading, where the students can engage with the communities, the local communities, to assess the vulnerabilities, and then they can together come up with some proper solutions. Then the integration of disaster management in the Sustainable Development Goals. Here, this is supporting the Sustainable Development Goal 13, that is climate action, Sustainable Development Goal 11, that is sustainable cities, and the Goal 4.7, which deals with the education for sustainable development. So that is why disaster management in education is very important, and why it matters, we have given you some points to ponder about. Now, academic and research advancement. So any institution, when we talk about academics, definitely the research and the research-oriented work is very important for any academic institution. So there is interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary learning, which combines the disciplines like geology, geography, environmental science, political science, climate science, the sociology, public policy, and technology, and many more to name. Then there are enormous research opportunities which encourages studies of climate resilience, the indigenous coping strategies, and urban risk governance. So academic and research advancement is a very important thing. That is why disaster management should form a compulsory part of every curricula and form a part of research in every institution. Now, disaster management in the NEP 2020 or the National Education Policy of 2020. So this NEP 2020 mentions basic training in health, including preventive health, mental health, good nutrition, personal and protective hygiene. And disaster response and the first aid is also included in the curriculum for the students. Now, including all the scientific explanations of the detrimental, damaging effects of the other hazards, for example, it could be the use of drugs or the alcohol or the tobacco, all this is included in page 16 of the NEP 2020 document. Then the NEP 2020, it details the importance of climate change. Effective disaster management is a society's frontline defense against the climate-driven extreme events. So nowadays you are seeing that the places, some places which used to be moderately heated up, but now you are finding more and more rainfall in such places which have not witnessed so much, and then drought-like conditions in certain places which have not witnessed so. So all these are happening due to the climate change problems. So again, this climate change, the catalyzing quality academic research through National Research Foundation and other key areas of focus including climate change and agriculture and climate change using the artificial intelligence. All this is included in the page number 3, page 45, page 50 and page 57 of the NEP 2020 document. NEP 2020 and sustainable development. So all that we are doing for in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of building sustainable infrastructure, building sustainable cities and countries, clean water, life below the water, on land, everything, we are all focusing on the sustainable development goals and agenda for 2030. So the education requires a great restructuring to meet the 2030 agenda of the SDGs, and this is also included in the document of the NEP 2020. So the link between sustainable development and disaster management is strategic and it is foundational, and also the B.Ed educational programs for education that will integrate environmental awareness and sustainable development, which is also given on page number 23 of the document. Again, the NEP 2020, it is integrating the sustainable development and disaster management in a very deeply interconnected way. We find that they have embedded environmental consciousness, climate resilience, the risk reduction competencies across the curriculum, and this is reinforcing each other across policy planning, then community resilience, and all this is deeply interweaving these, a deep interconnectedness between these topics. So in a nutshell, we can say that the NEP 2020 integrates disaster management in its curriculum from the primary level to the higher educational institutes, and we have found the importance and why this is important in order to meet the SDGs. Now, how does disaster management strategically integrate into the NEP 2020? So here we are focusing on holistic and multidisciplinary education, where we are encouraging the institutions to offer the courses which include environmental education, climate change and disaster resilience. So even at IGNOU, for you learners, we have included the disaster management as a course in the master level programs, and also we have the environment and occupational hazards, which also focuses on the different types of disasters, both the environmental hazards, natural disasters, technological disasters, and also occupational hazards and disasters. For everything we have to be prepared. Then vocational education, environmental studies and civic responsibility, all these modules will introduce disaster management. The NEP 2020 also emphasizes on the hands-on training and skill development. So vocational education and life skills form an important part of the curriculum, and this also involves the internships in areas like first aid, in emergency response, in community preparedness. So we will say that the educational system as a whole, it will regard the disaster preparedness as a life skill, and particularly at the upper primary and the secondary levels. The curriculum reform and pedagogy is focused upon, where experiential learning through projects and simulations can include the mock drill, hazard mapping and local risk assessments. The activities and the awareness campaigns are encouraging for the integration with the Sustainable Goal 13, that is climate action, and the Mission Life principles. Teacher training and capacity building. So for effective educations to occur, to happen at every level, we need good teachers who are trained teachers, trained counselors in the contextual and responsive education, which includes disaster awareness and also in the psychological first aid trainings. Then NEP promotes the community action, the community engagement, where all the educational institutions, they collaborate with the local authorities and also the local response team. So this could be the local disaster management team, the state disaster management authority and the national disaster management authorities. technology and digital tools. So these days we cannot go without technology. Even now I am interacting with you only through this technology. And now we also have the artificial intelligence technologies. So the NEP's digital integration goals promotes the use of geographical information systems, mobile apps, digital platforms for disaster forecasting and education. The students may engage with e-content and simulations that are related to the disaster scenarios. So that way there is more interconnectedness. They are able to get more detail about each disaster. They are able to simulate each condition and then come up with some proper solutions. So that was about an introduction, an overview about the topic. And now, Professor Baskar, can you tell us the role of the UGC in the disaster management and also how the NEP 2020 it has integrated the disaster management in the curricula or deeper understanding of the same?
Okay, you have very well explained the background. Learners, I would like you to keep 3-4 points in mind. One, as per the UNDRR report 2020, India is one of the most natural hazards prone area among the global countries. Second point is even CBRN anthropogenic risk like chemical, biological or radiological, nuclear, all these are also high as per NDMA report 2019. And this is because of rapid urbanization, expansion of industrial activity and high density of population. The third point you have to note is that the India is having the youngest youth population and approximately 65% of the population is below the age of 35. The fourth factor which you should note is that according to All India Institute of Higher Education survey, the largest population of students are the UG students and approximately it is 78%. Therefore, any role which UGC does will help in creating a disaster resilient society. So these points may be kept in mind. So let us see how UGC has acted. The latest circular which came was on 30th July 2025 where UGC asked the HEIs to introduce a 2-credit skill enhancement course and they gave the freedom to the institute to offer them as compulsory, elective or value-added course depending on their circumstances. And this curriculum is designed in collaboration with NIDM. In fact, NIDM has already circulated this new syllabus. And UGC also came up with a circular that HEIs may have practical training and DRR clubs so that disaster risk reduction clubs can be established in the campuses, and also students can receive training in real life crisis. So this DRR clubs was also another important circular aspect which UGC gave. The third important thing is UGC came up with the digital and community engagement, and that is also very important. And what is important in this is that the UGC encourages the students and faculty to assess the DRR modules via NIDM's e-learning platforms. In fact, UGC came up with the circular in 2025 to offer MOOCs in disaster management and call for applications, and they have shortlisted programs that will be offered through MOOCs. So you can see how much importance UGC is giving to this, and UGC has asked Institute to conduct quizzes, seminars and local planning exercises for disaster awareness. Then if you see the next one is that they have also encouraged that e-learning modules may be used by the faculty as well as NIDM's resources can be used for their updation. So these circulars I have mentioned. The most important step which UGC has taken since December 2024 is including disaster management in UGC NET syllabus. As Dr. Sushmitha mentioned, one of the important aspects is also career pathways, and now research and teaching can be done, because now UGC NET subject, they have included disaster management. So you can see UGC has taken large number of decisions. Also, way back in 2012, UGC took an important decision that whatever refresher course and orientation course are conducted by HRDCs, now they are called MMTCs, but they were called HRDCs, and they could offer, they could compulsory have one course, one lecture on disaster management. And also UGC gave guidelines that they could offer a compulsory course in the UG program. And also UGC encourages short-term courses on disaster management through MMTTC, that is Malviya Mission Teacher Training Centers, and also refresher courses on disaster management. So UGC is doing a lot of activity, and this disaster management course, all faculty can take part, not only science, because the multidisciplinary subject, different subjects like law, sciences, anybody can take part. All these things are done by UGC. Again, UGC encourages collaboration with other areas like NIDM, NDA for capacity building. Now, what has NIDM done regarding disaster management? NIDM has importantly created the syllabus, UG and PG syllabus, model syllabus, and they have circulated through UGC, and they have also proposed 2 to 3 credit disaster management modules, and NIDM's effort have led disaster management being part of the UGC NET subject. And NIDM also offers faculty development training programs to faculty and for students, as Sushmitha mentioned, for life skills like first aid, fire safety, evacuation drills, psychological first aid. They conduct programs, and they also encourage DRR clubs and campus safety audits so that there is no problem in case of emergencies. And NIDM also encourages digital learning and e-learning. Their e-learning portals, they offer free courses, anyone can join, and they encourage the use of technology in use of GIS, mobile apps, digital tools, etc. Then you can see they also work with regulatory bodies like UGC, AICT, etc. to mainstream disaster management in higher education. They support the national policies like life and SDG alignments. They support the activities of the ministries. You can also see that they lead in disaster management training, and they offer doctoral fellowship, they offer best thesis award, they provide support to universities, and they have established India Universities and institutional network for disaster risk reduction. And this is operationalizing the Agenda 6 of the PM's this Agenda 6 of the PM's method to tackle disaster, that is to promote a network of universities which will promote research and knowledge and innovation in disaster management. Now let us see how the IN DRR NEP 2020 is aligned. This is the crux of this, that it is multidisciplinary and holistic. It is from different disciplines. There is curriculum flexibility and local relevance, encourages HEIs to choose modules tailored to local vulnerabilities. It is skill-based and experiential. That means community engagement is there, scenario-based training. It is capacity building and teacher training, encourages faculty development through knowledge participation. Then technology integration is done. It leverages academic network for tech-driven DRR solutions. Equity, inclusion, and community engagement focuses on vulnerable populations. Then research and knowledge creation. It positions universities as technical resource centers for DRR innovation and policy input. Global citizenship and SDG alignment. It is anchored in SDG 13 Sendai framework, fostering global partnership. Now, if you see the curriculum they have made UG Foundation 3 credits, certificate course 38 credits, PG Diploma 45 credits, and UGC syllabus was notified on 24th February 2022. then you can see strategic shifts in disaster management. In India, earlier it should be a relief-based approach. Now it was a reactive approach. Now it is proactive, relief to risk reduction. There were no institutions. It was committees were formed. Now we have proper institutions, NDMA, SDMA, NIDM, etc. Then there is technology integration now. GIS, drones, mobile apps, all are used. And this again is education and capacity building. UGC, NEP have all contributed to promote awareness on this, conducted training modules, and there is global alignment with this. Now there is shift in disaster education also because of this. Earlier it was only creating awareness. Now there is a shift from theoretical modules to field-based experiential learning, and now there is multidisciplinary integration embedded in different subjects and disciplines: geography, sociology, engineering, public health, etc. And there is digital expansion. You can see MOOCs, e-learning platforms are used, and there is community and school outreach. Now we will come to the evolution of disaster management education in India. Since 1990s, it was done only partially in some topics in geography and environmental studies. In 1999, we had the J.C. Pant Committee, and 2001, we had the Gujarat earthquakes, which stimulated the need for a structured training. NIDM was established in 2003, and in 2005 we had the Disaster Management Act, and 2007 to 12 Government of India had the UNDP DRR program where curriculum development faculty training was done. UGC took a lot of initiatives in 2013-15, and in 2015 they had the Sendai framework, and 16 to 20 curriculum integration. 20 we had the COVID pandemic, and they include biological disasters, and 21 to 25 NEP 2020 implementation, where disaster education embedded in multidisciplinary curricula, experiential learning, and SDG mapping emphasized. If we follow the NEP 2020 in letter and spirit, we will certainly build a disaster resilient India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Baskar, and thank you, students. Today we discussed on the NEP 2020 and disaster management, and why it is important to integrate disaster management in the NEP 2020, and how important it is for every child, for every learner, from the primary to the higher educational institutes and at every institution, why disaster preparedness and disaster risk reduction is important. So we have discussed these aspects. Hope you had a clear understanding of the same. Thank you for your patient listening.
Thank you.